Hello. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Well, it took me a few minutes in the beginning because I tell you, Instagram has little delay. So when you connect with Instagram, it takes some time to make you come alive. But I can tell you one thing. Today we have a very interesting topic I'm going to talk about. And most NRIs are worried about this one issue, which is happening in India. And when I talk to these NRIs, we talk about different things. But one very important thing which comes in limelight, and most people think that India is kind of becoming a radical nation. And I tell you, when we saw the attack which happened this morning on Donald Trump, and I was actually there in Donald Trump's event in Houston, Howdy Modi, where he and Mr. Modi both were sharing the stage. And I saw that event from my own eyes, how committed Donald Trump was for India. And he was showing his friendship for India, friendship for Mr. Modi. And that was like you can literally feel it why he was doing that. Now, today we have a very important guest. He is a very close aide of Mr. Modi in United States. You have heard him before, Mr. Dr. Bharat Barai. Today, I'm going to have him talk about this particular one topic which we are discussing. That in today's India, what is there for NRIs and what is the perspective of NRIs? How NRIs look at it when they look at the social media, they look at the Twitter, they look at YouTube, they look at news, what kind of perspective they are forming for India. And because not many NRIs, they frequently travel to India. And even if they travel, they can't see the things the way people experience those things when they actually live here. So I moved here about 3 months ago, and the way I can see things, the way when I meet people face to face, it creates a lot of difference. And I hear different opinions, I hear different perspectives. Um, so based on that, we are going to do today's show, tonight's show, and we will ask this one question: How world is seeing us, and especially world means the NRIs are seeing India from the perspective of Modi's third term, because he is the second prime minister who is taking prime ministership third time after Jawaharlal Nehru, and especially after the after independence, post-independence. So with this, I'm going to invite Mr. Dr. Bharat Barai. He is already in the studio, but before I do that, I would talk about a few more things. So yes, a lot of people still think. Okay, let me first invite Dr. Bharat Barai, and then we'll ask him the question. Dr. Bharat Barai, welcome again to the studio.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you and I can see you.
Fantastic. We can see you as well. If there would be more light, it would be good. But otherwise, we are here to listen your ideas and listen your. Uh, we all are excited about Modi's third term. I know you are particularly very excited about it. And were you happy after seeing the election results? What was your response?
I would say, Kunal, that it's a mixed, largely happy, but not as happy as I would have been. And same thing is the feeling among the majority of the NRIs.
Uh-huh.
And this is how I dissect it. Purely based on what Narendra Modi government did in last
Hmm.
10 years, he should have been elected with 400 seats plus, purely based on the merits. I have been to India several times during last 10 years, and I have seen what a tremendous progress India has made. As most of the NRI wish that India and the people of India, based on their intelligence, their entrepreneurship, they should enjoy living standard fairly close, if not identical, to many European countries and US. And the progress was being made in that direction. If I look at the educational system, the value of education is going up and up. More and more universities, more and more medical colleges are coming up. Not only that, more and more students are striving to come abroad for trying to study further, pushes the value of education further. If you look at it, field of economics, India has become the fifth largest economy in the world. A lot of things are being made in India, and that progress which has been started will continue for next 10 to 30 years. I mean, China did not become a manufacturing capital overnight. It took 30 to 40 years to reach where it is. And there is no question they have made wonderful progress. And I think we are on our way to making the progress towards a manufacturing capital. There are a
So,
lot
Dr.
of
Barai, I tell you, I moved like 3 months ago. Now it's almost, I've interacted with so many people. And myself has settled down. In India, still, everyday life is kind of not as, I mean, we still struggle for domestic things like quality of life. If we compare for the developing nations or even other developed nations, we all know that. But this is not my question. My question is much larger than that, which I'm coming on. I spoke to a few people, and I know Modi ji for sure, and the other BJP and the whole RSS and the Sangh circle, they are working for a larger goal, larger aim. And when you look at that larger goal and larger aim, um, those who understand that goal and objective, they feel like these are frivolous things, like any nation which transforms from a developing country to a developed nation. As you said, China took 30 to 40 years. So it is going to take time. But I want to understand from you, what do you feel as an NRI, and how do you see or how do you convince NRIs to look at that larger goal, and where do you see that happening? And you know what I'm talking about when I say larger goal.
Now, the NRIs very much realize that A, this cannot happen overnight, but they also see very distinct progress being made in that direction. And they felt that Modi government deserved a lot of credit for it. Look at it this way. Why did it take 65 years for someone in government to realize that people need toilets in their house? Why did it take 65 years to realize that there should be electricity in every house? Why did it take 65 years to realize there should be cooking gas and women should not be going and cutting the woods and putting it on fire? Why did it take 65 years to realize that there should be tap water coming to every house and women should not have to put bedas on their heads, go to the wells, fetch the water, and bring it to the house? So all these basic necessities, or I'm talking about basic necessities of life to sustain a reasonable life, why did it take 65 years? And yet, if you can look at it, and as most NRIs look at it, it has happened largely in last 10 years. So Modi government deserves a lot of credit for it. And
Now
that's
what? Now what? Modi's third term.
now what? Modi will continue along the same goal. He is not going to change his goal. Clearly, there has been a dent in the invincibility image that has been created abroad, that Modi is unbeatable, and most people were expecting, including myself, somewhere around 350 to 370 seats. So clearly we have been asking ourselves our own hypothesis, what in the world went wrong that they ended up with 293 or 292 instead of 400.
Well, we still have majority. So what difference does it make?
No, it makes a difference in the sense the power of supermajority. Number two,
I don't. I mean, the way Mr. Modi is traveling to the world in Russia and everywhere, do you see that he has any kind of that he is kind of feeling that dent?
no, he does not have that feeling, and I hope he does
Yeah,
not have the feeling. But
yeah,
as NRIs, we certainly feel, and feel
yeah.
in the sense that based on his performance, based on his merits, he deserved much better. Let's put it this way. And we are asking why in the world, people of India, why in the world the electorate did not give him what was deserved based on the merits. That is where, at least in our mind, the image part is dented to a degree. And I would say more, not so much image of Modi, but the image of India's electorate. So far, we used to say that India's electorate is pretty smart. They know the difference between right and wrong, what is good for them. And now that image is dented. Are they still voting based on the caste? Are they still voting based on the money that was promised to them? This khatakhat 8,500 rupees per month, which never materialized, or all the reveries that they are being offered? Is that what they are still voting on? And it creates the impression that Indian electorate is not as mature as we thought that it was.
So this is so funny, Dr. Barai. We all know, like today we had an attack on Donald Trump, and he has been like a fighter. He has been a great friend to India. Uh, you were there in Howdy Modi event. I was there.
Yes.
We saw their friendship with Modi. What do you think where it is going? I mean, American politics and Indian politics in that regard. That's fresh. I mean, it happened today.
Well, yeah, for your time it happened today, our time it happened last night when we were
Yeah,
at a concert. So obviously, this is terrible for democracy. You have the right to express your opinion, how much dissenting it is, but do it in a peaceful way. Otherwise, you deserve what is happening in Putin Raj or in Shiraj, where you try to say anything different and either you are put in jail or you are killed. So, the gun control is an issue in USA, and the Republican Party has not been very conceding on that point. The last
was it a gunshot? What is a gunshot, or it was something else? What was
No,
it?
it was a AR-15 rifle, which is the hunting
Oh,
rifle that is used.
hunting. Yeah, it was like a yeah, a
It
little.
was a
Yeah,
AR-15
yeah.
semi-automatic rifle. About 8 to 10 rounds were fired.
Wow.
Uh, think of it, if it would have gone medially by only 2 inches, the
Hmm.
headline would have been different, that Donald Trump is
Yeah,
dead.
yeah,
He also killed one another person who was sitting in the audience.
yeah.
See, what happened was, there was, and this is again an issue of Secret Service. What
Uh huh.
kind of job did they do?
Yeah,
I mean, the guy was on the roof of a building which was just about 100 yards away, 100 yards.
right.
And he was standing on that. And now the documentary or the video is coming up. And
Yeah,
some people had even pointed out that, hey, there is a man with a gun on the roof to the police. And
yeah,
4 or 5 minutes went by till the shots were fired and nothing
yeah,
was done. So, what kind of security the Secret Service provided?
yeah.
I had the opportunity, Kunal, both times, both at Madison Square Garden as well at Ronald Reagan Center before Prime
Yes.
Minister Modi's visit. I did so many security rounds, both with Prime Minister's SPG,
Yeah,
then with US Secret Service,
yeah.
then with the National Police. So, believe it or not, they were
We are
so
doing much better in India.
well. Even Secret Service in Washington D.C. did much
Yeah,
better in India. I tell
yeah.
you, Prime Minister's function at Reagan Center was on 23rd of June.
Correct. I was
And
there.
in the first round, the SPG approved the location. in Reagan Center in the atrium. The first seat of agents that came from Secret Service approved it. Then when the supervisor came for a round on the Friday, exactly 8 days, 7 days before the function, he says, you cannot do the function here. He said,
Wow.
on both sides, there is open lobby. And even though we can put our agents on both the sides to block, what happens if a crowd of 50 or 100 people came? They will
Yeah.
overpower these agents and somebody can shoot from here. We cannot
Right.
allow the Prime Minister to be here. So they
Right.
said, you cannot conduct this program. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
And then, even though Monday was a holiday, Juneteenth, we rushed there, we made round with and ultimately we worked out. So how
Yeah.
particular they were about looking at every possible angle, and how in the world here they missed it, that there was a building right 50 yards away and
Yeah.
somebody could shoot from there. And that's how President John Kennedy was shot. He was riding
Yes.
in an open motorcade, and somebody from the building which was nearby shot him. And that building was not secure. And here,
Yeah.
same thing happened. The building next to, and Trump's rally was in open. It was in a farm which was in the open. So how in the world will you allow anything to happen? I mean,
Yeah,
without.
because he was not a sitting president. I'm sure the things would be different if he would be an actual sitting president.
But he is a presumed Republican nominee. I mean,
Yeah, but you
he's
know what
three
the
days
things are
away.
going on. He was convicted. He had like long legal
Yeah,
fight
but
going on
Kunal, the Secret Service job is to do a
to
great
protect.
professional job. And in my
Yes.
opinion, they did not live up to the standard and the reputation that they have set up. And I can tell you, at Ronald Reagan Center, they did a terrific job. We spent 4 hours going through every angle, every area in the Reagan Center, and then came up with a virtually foolproof plan. So
No,
here, they did not do it, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah. So, Dr. Barai, I wanted to come up on this point, and I know it's a little radical. It sounds a little radical, but it's not about Hindu Muslim. But what we are seeing today in India, and it's a tough question. I mean, most people are talking about, and what I see, even the smallest incident happened to it, and the way it is glorified on Twitter or social media, they link everything with something is happening with the race or with the religion, and it is quite common. And I know it's unfortunate. We don't see it from that perspective. But when I hear the comments from Hindu radicals and from Muslim radicals, they both try to justify their own acts. Nobody is looking at it from just a human angle. And that is happening a lot. And I know for sure that bothers a lot of NRIs.
Well, the way NRIs look at it, the Muslim lobby, and I would say most of the Muslims are decent, ordinary citizens, but there is definitely a jihadi lobby financed by more than one sources. George Soros is number one, and now George Soros' son, Alex Soros, it's interesting, is a Jew, though he doesn't observe, Hungarian Jew, his father was, has engaged and married Huma Abedin, who is a Palestinian Muslim. Now, this lady is also very interesting. She divorced a US congressman, I think his name was from New York, Alex Nagar or so, who was another Jew, Weiner, yeah, Mr. Weiner, to whom she was married, and she divorced him. So here is a Palestinian Muslim lady who married first a Jew. Now she is marrying another Jew, and we'll see how this mixture comes out. Now, Soros made a lot of money in the stock market. He has given $32 billion of his money to so-called Open Society Foundation. But the real name that society or that outfit deserves is Open Subversion Outfit. They are trying to destabilize not only government of India, but many governments all over the world. Simply because he has the money, he has made a tax-free so-called charitable foundation, and that foundation is funding so many subversive activities. Think of it, US government had lot of investigation about Russian influence, Ukrainian influence, Chinese influence in US election process. And this guy sitting in US forming a foundation openly goes to Munich and says that Narendra Modi government should be overthrown. What business does a US citizen have to say any other elected prime minister should be overthrown? And yet, this kind of activities under the name of freedom of speech are permitted, which are not permitted in USA itself.
So I was talking to one very important politician, not politician, but a very like 81-year old. He is like patriarch of Sangh RSS guy. He was my father's friend, and the way he was worried about India, his concern is this, and I would say openly, I have no problem. He said the way insiders, the enemy of India is not outside, the enemy of India is sitting inside. And that is the most immediate concern. And that should be the concern of NRIs and Hindus and Indians wherever they live. He says the whatever is happening right now, it is a balancing act. If Modi and Amit Shah would not stood in between those radical elements and Hindus, India is on the verge of collapse. He was so much worried, and
Yes.
I was like shocked to hear that.
No, Kunal, I would not. I would modify his sentence, but not his worries. I would say India's enemies are within India, but also outside India. There is a Hyderabadi lobby of radical Muslims who are constantly doing anti-India propaganda. There is an
True.
organization called CARE,
Care.
Council for Islamic American Relations, which is openly doing lot of anti-India activities. So there are a lot of radicals, most of them Indian Muslims. Believe it or not, in Chicago, Pakistani Muslims are much better behaved about India. In fact, they say that we wish that we had somebody like Modi as our prime minister.
Yes.
Pakistani
No, I
Muslims.
hear that comment all the time. Yeah.
Most of the Middle Eastern Muslims, and in our
Yes.
hospitals, we have doctors from Egypt, we have doctors from Syria. Those are the two main. But from United Arab Emirates, they are all appreciative of India and its progress.
Yeah.
They have very little animosity for Hindus. Most of the animosity for Hindus in USA comes from Indian Muslims and predominantly Hyderabadis. They are
And
the
even
ones.
on Indian Hindus, sometimes our own Hindus criticize Hindus.
Well, we do have some of them, but when it comes to USA, I would say 90% or 95% Hindus are strong
Yes.
BJP. In fact, I had a friend who was telling me that Bharat Bhai, why don't you do something so that we NRIs can vote in India's election? Because that way BJP will get
Yeah.
95% of the votes. I
Yeah.
think it's
And
fairly
especially
true.
those who have card, who have the
Even the
Aadhaar card.
most of Indian Christians are also pro BJP.
Yes.
So, and many of the Muslims who come from Gujarat or UP, they are not so anti-Hindu. It's
Right.
mostly the Hyderabadi who are radical jihadis that are doing the anti-India propaganda, anti-Hindu propaganda
And
in
they
US.
all are very literate people. They all are very educated people. It's not like they are some uneducated people and somebody just using them as a tool or a weapon. I mean, they all are very educated people. But
Well,
do you think?
don't forget Osama bin Laden was also
Yeah,
educated. Many of
yeah.
the guy who is a Muslim Brotherhood's president, he from Egypt, he was a doctor. So, unfortunately, education does not bring more civility and more consideration for other human beings. The more they use their intelligence to subvert, try to convert, try to kill, and try to eradicate other people. I mean, look
I
here.
was, I would suggest you. Have you heard about Douglas Murray?
No. Let me bring up another interesting topic.
Uh-huh.
What is going on in Middle East? Obviously, we all hate when innocent civilians are the victims. And yes, on both sides, the Israeli side and Palestinian side, there are innocent victims who are suffering. But the root cause is there was a ceasefire till 6th of October.
Yeah.
It was the Hamas and their allies Hezbollah and their allies Houthis, as well as Islamic Jihad, and the master of all of them, Iran. They are the ones who encourage incursion, attack, killing 1,200 Israelis, most of them innocent civilians, abducting almost 250 of them. And how many educated Muslims are in USA? And very few of them, except few in Canada, have denounced what Hamas and Hezbollah are doing. Now, by the way, in private, they all tell me, because we have the doctors, we sit in the doctor's lounge, they say in private, Israelis should finish up Hamas. They are like a monster. No Arab government is either willing or capable of dealing with Hamas and Hezbollah. And we see that. No Arab government, they all denounce Israel, the same nonsense way they usually do it. But internally, they all wish that Israel will finish off Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, and Islamic Jihad. So they all wish that. But they don't criticize Hamas openly that, guys, you are responsible for the carnage in Middle East. You started all these things, and today the war can come to an end if they were to release all the hostages. And yet, the Palestinian students, and by the way, they are not students, many of them are taxi drivers from New York and Chicago also.
Yeah, that was my son is in Johns Hopkins, so he told me that, Dad, what you read in newspapers, that is not true. It's they were not all students; they were different people. I mean, they were like, he saw them agitating, and he said they were like, they don't look like students.
And then some of the Indian students, they are as stupid as they are.
Yeah, they joined them.
Yeah, some of them, not most of them, but some
Yeah,
of the stupid people, are they not educated enough to know what happened? Free Palestine, free Palestine. I said what they should have said is free Palestine of Hamas, Hezbollah, and Islamic Jihad. I mean, this is basically so-called land, and I would want your readers or viewers to go and look up the history. That entire land was a Jewish land called land of Canaan, land of Israel, land of Judea, land of Samaria. We all use the word Good Samaritan. Where did the word Good Samaritan come from? It came from West Bank, which was really Samaria, which was the Jewish territory. That's where the word came from. So that was the old Jewish territory. Yeah, during the rule of the Turkish rulers, they did rule over that area for 200 to 300 years. But then, after First World War, that area was given to the Britishers. And just as the Britishers divided India into India and Pakistan, they divided it into Jordan. There was no Palestine. Remember, there was no Palestine. They gave it to Israel and they gave it to Jordan. And Jordan was supposed to be the homeland for Palestinians. But Palestinians don't want them. So in, I think about 2010, there was a massacre of almost 10,000 Palestinians by the Jordanians because they were creating.
The time when we had Jammu Kashmir issue going on.
Yeah. So they kicked them out. And in 1967 war, when Jordanians lost the West Bank, they say, okay, guys, go there, live there. We don't want any Palestinians. Can you imagine there are only about 4 million Palestinians total? There are 8 million foreigners working in Middle East, 6 million of them Indians. Why can't these 4 million Palestinians go and work in the Arab countries? You think that they are refugees? I've been to Israel and West Bank 6 times. They are living in very nice apartments, just like Mumbai or Ahmedabad. Everybody thinks refugees. So United
And
Nations.
who pays for that? Who pays for all of this?
Rest of the world. The Qataris pay, the Kuwaitis pay, the Saudis pay, the Europeans pay, the United States pays, the United Nations
So where
pays.
are the refugees?
The average income of Indians in 2023, and you can Google it, that's where my numbers come from. The per capita income of an Indian was around 2,700 some dollars in 2023. And what was the average income of a person in Gaza in 2023, so-called refugees? $3,800, 30% more than average income of an Indian.
And they are called refugees.
And they are called refugees.
So this whole thing which is going on, and I can tell you, this is false narrative. It's happening in India, it's happening in Israel, it's happening in many places. So I heard this guy, Douglas Murray, today, and there is a video on YouTube, you can see it. He has written a book called War Against the West. And there was a Muslim woman who was asking him a question that, and many Muslims even in India, and which is a legitimate question, they asked this question, that we have been living in this country for many, many years. This country is ours. Why would somebody tell us that this is not your country or you should leave this country? Which is a genuine question. I get it. But the problem is the narrative which is being built by some of their own people, some of those Muslim radical Islamists, they themselves are contradicting their own people by misguiding them, misleading them. And because of that certain sect of people or certain sect, they have become so popular in politics. Can you believe a guy living in a jail, Amrit Pal Singh, is a terrorist. He got elected in India. Similarly, there are a couple of Muslim leaders who are in jail. They got elected this time, even sitting in the jail.
Let me give you an answer to first question that you asked.
Yeah.
India has many minorities. Muslims are not the only minorities, though they are large. Nobody tells Jews who are living in India, quit India. Nobody tells Parsis who are living in India, go quit India. Nobody tells Christians who are living in India, go and quit India. They have same thing is about the Tibetans or the Buddhists. Even Sikhs, nobody tells Sikhs, go and get out of India. Most of the Sikhs are very patriotic people and they are the proud sons of India. In fact, one time, Advani ji reminded some of the Sikhs here, and I don't know, I'm not a student of Guru Granth Sahib, but he says that one of the first sentence in Guru Granth Sahib is Ram Naam Urdar. Take Ram's name before you start reading Guru Granth Sahib. And I was reading the 10,000 page judgment of US Supreme Court about the Ayodhya. And I read that in 1528 year, Guru Nanak, they extensively quoted from Nanak diary or something like that. Nanak Nama. The Nanak Nama, Guru Nanak had written that in year 1528, he went to visit the birthplace of Lord Ram, or maybe 1526. So he had done, in fact, they quoted that there was evidence that there was an existing Ram temple there, not only noted by many of the European travelers and Hindu historians, but even Guru Nanak had noted in Nanak Nama that he went to Ayodhya for Ram Darshan and he visited the Ram Mandir and he did puja there. So they said that we have evidence from Nanaknama that yes, Ram temple existed there. So
Whole existence of Sikhism is to protect the Hindu dharma. I mean,
that
that's
is
how
what
we.
that's what Advanijit said, that the way Sikhism came and they were concentrated in the northwest part of India because each Hindu family had to give their eldest son to the fighting force. It was like a conscription
Yeah.
to
When the
fighting.
Aurangzeb was
Those
so
became the
powerful.
Sikhs. So
Yeah.
Sikhs are the Bade Bhai hai. Eldest son of each Hindu family became Sikh. So
Yeah.
they are our Bade Bhais. And that is how most of us work and look at them. I think this is all Pakistani propaganda. And then people like Trudeau, who is probably one of the greatest, funniest guy in the world, I would say, they observe. Can you believe that for a guy who was killed, who Canadian government had put Mr. Najjar on the no-fly list? So I'm sure they did not mean to give him a VIP jet. Mr. Najjar was put on Canada's no-fly list by the Canadian government.
He came to India.
Yeah, but that is before that. And when that guy is killed, we don't know yet who murdered him. Canadian Parliament observes a moment of silence. You normally do that for a national hero or a national leader or somebody who gave his life for the country. Here is the guy who was termed as a terrorist by India, who was on no-fly list of Canadian government, and
They,
320, 329 innocent Canadians died when Kanishka was bombed. And when there was an anniversary of bombing up of Kanishka, no official from Canadian government even went there. Yes,
see,
there
they
was.
have a political interest. I think Trudeau's mom is Sikh, either mom or dad. So he grew up in not only just not learning about Sikhism, but learning about the radical Sikhism kind of environment. And plus, he thinks that Sikhism, if he talk about these radical elements, he can probably stay in the office for as long as these people want.
Kunal,
So that,
he is not a mathematician.
yeah,
If we do the mathematics in Canada, only talking about people of Indian ancestry, yes, there are about 650,000 Sikhs, and I don't think most of the Sikhs will support what the radicals are doing. But there
right,
are 1.1 million Hindus also. They may
correct.
not go out and demonstrate, but they will demonstrate at the ballot box what this stupid guy Trudeau is doing. His father did the same thing. This son
Yes.
is doing the same thing. Can you believe doing a moment of silence in honor of a
Or a
terrorist
terrorist,
who is on their own no-fly list?
no fly list.
Yeah. So
This is
these are goofy times. Even in democracy, some people have the definition of democracy where 51 fools rule over 49 wise men. That's not always true, but sometimes it is. And
So what
Canada,
do you think?
huh?
So what do you think? What went wrong in this election? Why in UP, when we were so betting upon UP, that UP is one of the foremost like advocacy organization or advocate for Hinduism and plus development,
I'll
the
give
country
you
was developing.
I'll
What
give
went wrong?
you my analysis, and
Hmm.
it may not be the truth, but I've talked to various people. I've done my own studies. Number one, this slogan, "Upki Par 400 Par," that
Oh, okay.
that was a very legitimate thinking, and if it was purely
Optimistic thinking.
fairly based
Optimistic.
on the merits. But what
Yes.
it did, many people thought, "Arey yaar, he is going to win anyway. They will get 400 seats. So what the heck? I don't have to
We
stand in
don't
line
go
for
and
2 hours
vote.
in 118 degrees weather. because if you look at it, the overall voting percentage was somewhat less this
Yes.
time than last time. And most of the seats, now, if you look at it, UP analysis is very strange. BJP got 0.19% vote more than India Alliance, total vote. But many of the seats that so-called India Alliance won were by a smaller margin, like 5,000, 8,000 votes, while many of the BJP wins were by much bigger margin. So even though BJP Alliance got more votes, 0.19%, than India
But it
Alliance,
didn't impact the. It didn't
because
impact.
of winner takes the seat. So if it was divided based on the percentage, BJP should have had more seats. Second thing, there was a seat arrangement between Congress and Samajwadi Party, or Namazwadi Party as I call it. So what happened? The vote division that usually occurs in India's election was much reduced, and that's why the Namazwadi Party got the seats. Nonetheless, that is still a less. So BJP did not lose its vote bank, but the other guys got combined. Whether slogan of 400 part and the caste politics, the money bribing. They went and said everywhere, if you vote for Congress party, you will get 8,500 rupees per month, 1 lakh rupees per year, khata khat. And as much as I thought India's electors were smart, okay, I'll take money with left hand, but I'll vote with my right hand for BJP, which has given so much to us.
The
I've
same thing
also
what happened in Delhi for Arvind Kejriwal, where he distributed free
all the
electricity in
readies.
every corner.
Well, the
Yeah,
Delhi people turned out to be more educated. They took the Revdis on one side, but they still voted for BJP.
for BJP in the central election.
Plus
Yes.
the caste politics. Yadav
Yeah.
and Muslims combined, they still play the same game. Doesn't matter whether there is a Gundagiri or Gunda Raj during Akhilesh Yadav and his father Mulayam Singh Yadav. Now, I also heard from some people that even though at the top level, Narendra Modi and cabinet level, there is no corruption, unfortunately, there is corruption, significant corruption at the lower level. And I think Modi ji should try to see what can we do. Kunal, the BJP has to distinguish itself as a party for serving the people. Yes, as Narendra Modi went to Mutt and wanted to become a sadhu, but the Swamiji said no and go and serve the people. And
Oh, that is what happened. That's
yes,
why he
yeah,
continued.
he went to Belur Mutt and he wanted to become the sadhu. And the Swamiji talked to
So
him
this happened now, or you're talking about the old story?
years ago, years ago,
Years ago, yes.
when he was still trying to decide what to do. But he embraced politics both, and believe it or not, he was appointed chief minister before he became a legislature. He was selected as a prime ministerial candidate without being a member of parliament,
Yes,
both state level and federal level.
that is true. That is true. He came from
That
nowhere.
spirit, that spirit has to be installed into all the BJP workers.
But
That
I tell you, that is not happening right now.
I know
I've
it's,
been
but
struggling to find for last 3 months. Roads are bad. I can tell you, local roads. Mr. Nitin Gadkari might be making good highways, but the roads are terrible right now. Rainy season everywhere. You can't just go out. It's just so
Kunal,
difficult.
that is what the BJP has to do. They have to become a people's party. Go to the people. What are your difficulties? And our party is there to solve your problems in a selfless way without any corruption. That
I
has
don't understand these politicians. They go on the road with their own vehicle. They don't see the same thing. They don't fly in an aeroplane or something on the local roads.
this has to start at the local municipal level. Vadodara municipal
They
president
own
and
it. They
councillors,
do it.
same
Yeah.
in Ahmedabad, they don't become the new If they behave like congressmen, how are they different than Congress people? I mean,
Just
Congress,
go sit in their office, do dharna or whatever it is. The roads have to be made.
right? I agree. They cannot
Okay?
behave like
Yeah.
corrupt Congress party. You say that Congress is corrupt, and they are very corrupt, but then
Yeah.
you don't do the same thing and say that
The
now what
roads
can
has to
we?
be made.
So
The
they have.
basic essential things has to be given to the people, because just by sheer saying we are moving towards Viksit Bharat, we are moving towards developed country, it has to be strategized. I mean, you have to see on the ground with the open eyes, rather than the second thing I don't like, and that is my criticism to BJP. Like, when we see the vision is coming from Mr. Modi, we all see it. The vision is coming from top. There are his 4 or 5 lieutenant commanders who are setting up the vision. He has the team. But the bottom level, if you see, all they are doing is just sheer marketing their vision. And I see it. I'm in Rajasthan. I see bad roads. I see people are talking, the politicians are talking about the same thing what Modi is talking about. You don't need to talk about the same thing. He's doing his work. You need to implement the things on the ground, and they are failing right there.
I agree with you that they are trying to market Modi ji to win the
He
election,
doesn't need their marketing.
right? And filling their pockets or sitting in the chair, that has to change.
And without that, it will be very, very difficult. So where do you see it going now next? What's next
Well,
in what do
I
you
hope.
think? We need to
Well,
finish
I
this up
hope that
5, 10 minutes. Let's wrap it up.
I hope that
What do you see?
what happened in this election serves as a wake-up call. In fact, once in a while, you wish that BJP loses the election for a short period of time, let the so-called India alliance come to power, then they will fight among themselves who will become the prime minister, Rahul or Yadav or Mamta or Stalin or Uddhav Thackeray. All those people will fight among themselves, and then
And
the
that is
BJP
not
will say,
happening yet.
"Arey yaar, BJP government was far better. Modi ji was far better than all these clowns." So sometimes, this kind of evil things have to happen before people realize that the previous government was much better. And some of the BJP people who are not service oriented, who are not oriented to providing a remedy to people's woes, maybe they should lose the election, because ultimately they have to win the election based on their merits, based on what they do for the common man of India.
So what do you think NRIs should contribute? What can NRIs do?
Well, NRIs are a little bit shaken, not a whole lot, because they all thought based on the merits, and that's how, as you know, we NRIs are accustomed to thinking on merits. We thought that Modi ji should get between 370 to 400 seats. So we all feel disappointed. I think that NRI investment in India may take a little pause, that, hey, what is likely to happen? Because if, let's say, hypothetically, in 5 years, so-called India Alliance government was come to power, we think that India will go back by 20 to 40 years.
You think so?
Yes, and most of the NRIs, as much as they love India, would not invest in India because they will feel very unsafe. Because it will be the same monkey business again, one scam after another, appeasement politics. Look at in Karnataka, the money that was reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes now is being diverted to pay for those promises, all those distributions. लोगों को बोल दिया ये पैसा देंगे वो पैसा देंगे, पैसा तो है नहीं ट्रेजरी में. So how will they do it? So चुरा लो कहाँ से. And same, as Rahul, Rajiv Gandhi himself used to say that 85% of the money goes for corruption to the middlemen. They don't get this money. Ultimately, only 15 cents go. So,
Can you read? Can you read this message?
yes, I can read. What is there for NRI in Modi third term, or how can NRI help to make India Viksit Bharat? I think the NRIs will invest in India. NRIs will lobby in USA, to a degree in Europe also, for closer cooperation. Modi ji's mantra about make in India, we would try to do it, but I don't want to lie and say that my confidence is a little bit shaken. That okay, I will still do it, but my question is, after 5 years, is it going to be blown up, or India will continue on the path of progress and prosperity? So yes,
So I think
we'll do the same thing, but I would say with little bit of shaken confidence.
there is another big question going on right now, and I think it is a very common thing in India. All religious centers, and especially Hindu religious center, you must be hearing Sai Deepak is doing a huge agitation about it. Government is controlling it. Today, I read this news: Jagannath Mandir. They were taking out all the old treasure chest boxes and all of that. So what are your thoughts on this? I mean, because I don't know, I'm not sure whether government should have a control over religious organization, or because these are very rich organizations. I mean, if government will not have control, it will go messy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, in India, there's no accountability when it comes to
See, that
administration.
is, you are right. That is one of the issue. On
Yeah,
one side, and I'm being trustee of more than 3 Hindu temples, I obviously believe strongly that the
mm,
local trust should have control of all religious organization. It's interesting. There is no church which is controlled by government of India. There is no
right.
mosque that is controlled by government of India. There is no Parsi temple that is controlled by government of India.
Only the Hindu temples are
Mostly
controlled
the
by
Hindu
India.
temples. And especially when the opposition government comes to power. Like people say that uh, this guy Jagan Mohan Reddy and his father Rajshekhar Reddy, they took a lot of money from Tirumali temple, Balaji temple, and subsidized a lot of trips to Jerusalem for the Christians as well as Hajj for the Muslims. So the wealth of the Hindu temples has become a source of corruption, diversion of the money. So, ideally speaking, I would like to see a situation where the management is slowly turned over to the trust, but responsible people should be put into the trust so that
Correct.
this money is not misused and gobbled up. So, whether it is the government officer that is siphoning up the money and now a private trust is siphoning the money. So,
That should be
structures,
accountability should be
there
there.
should be accountability built in, and any guy who steals the money of the temple, he should be severely punished if they do that. With those kinds of solid provisions, I think the management should be turned over to the local boards.
Then we need to have a show just on that topic. It's a huge
Yeah,
topic. But I always enjoy talking to you. It is a great conversation we had. Thank you so much. We took a lot of questions and we had almost 1 hour of the show. But thank you so much, Dr. Barai, and I look forward to having more conversation with you in
yeah.
future.
Thank you, Kunal. I just want to make it clear that these are all my personal views. I
Yeah,
don't
I know.
represent
Yeah, yeah,
anybody. Yes.
yeah. That is good. Fantastic. We all are sharing our personal views. So
Yeah.
for me also, it's
Okay.
personal.
Thank you.
But thank you
Thank you
so
for
much.
the opportunity to participate and share my views on your show.
Thank you so much. So this was our show on with Dr. Bharat Barai. But I look forward to have more and more conversations like this. If you want to participate in this show, please let me know. I would put you on the show. You can pick any topic which is interesting, which talks about Bharat, which talks about your passion for Bharat or India. And if you want to bring any issue, we can absolutely use this platform to share it with the world. Thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing your reviews soon. Thank you.